Hi guys, it's Lisa. Welcome to the Fiber Nymph Dye Works channel. Thank you for tuning in. It has been a while. It's been almost a month since I recorded. It's just been a crazy period of time right now. I'm not gonna go into all of it. I'm sure a lot of it will come up as we speak throughout this episode. But suffice it to say, whenever this much time passes between episodes, it tends to be a long episode. So I apologize for that. I totally understand if you can't watch the whole thing, but I always put timestamps in the show notes that are in the drop down menu below the video, so you can jump around, see what you're interested in, skip parts that you aren't interested in. But yeah, I will give you a heads up. I've got some announcements I'm going to tell you about. I do have crafting. However, I'm going to keep the crafting to things that are fairly relevant right now, as opposed to things that I maybe talked about in the last episode and only worked on a little bit. I'll save those to talk about at another time once I have a chance to work on them some more. We're going to talk a little bit about the make-along, the project pool make-along that's going on all this year. And then I do have shop news to tell you about, and I'll just give you a little bit of life updatey stuff. Matter of fact, the life update stuff is probably going to come throughout this whole video because, again, it's been a while, and that's how this is going to work. As far as the regular administration, again, show notes are in the drop-down menu below, timestamps. You can also find me in different places. We have Fiber Nymph Dye Works. Totally just blanked on that. My website is fibernymphdyworks.com. There's a blog on there where I also post the show notes. We have a Fiber Nymph Dye Works group on Ravlery, and there is a Fiber Nymph Dye Works Instagram and Facebook page as well. I also have a personal Instagram, which is just Fiber Nymph. I am not on there very often. I don't post very often. I don't know why. This year I have hardly posted on there at all. But the other things, I keep up with as far as business stuff. So if you want to be in the know about what's coming out, what's in the shop, etc., that's the best way to do that. That and my newsletter, which you can sign up for my newsletter on any page of the website. And because I just heard him turn it off, I'm going to mention, if you hear a weird, loud backgroundy noise, my husband is running the tractor outside. And I'm used to hearing it, so it didn't dawn on me to mention it, but that's what you're hearing if you hear that. But now you don't, because he just shut it off. So anyway. And I'm drinking tea out of one of my favorite mugs the good friend sent to me. I know it's not Halloween, but you know what? It's Halloween in my heart pretty much all year long. And I just dropped my show notes all over the floor. And this tea is my own blend of stuff that we grow in our garden: lemongrass, mint, stevia, and chamomile. So it's my favorite tea blend. And today is damp and chilly, so it's perfect for tea. So what are we going to talk about today? Let me give you some announcements first. I have the 2024 holiday countdown sets up in the shop. They actually went up right at the very end of March. I told you that they would be up by April 1st last time I recorded, and they did indeed go up. You have still got plenty of time to order because they're going to be up in the shop through June 15th at least. The theme this year is the mystery of color. I'm so excited about this theme. I'm excited about every year's theme, but I've just got so much going on that I'm working on for this. It's just exciting to me. But if you go to the shop and read the listing, you will be able to see everything that you're going to get along with your minis, because of course you're getting minis. That's the whole point. But I've included some additions to this collection that I don't even want to just call extras because they're kind of significant, but I hope you will enjoy them. So go ahead and check that out if that is of interest to you. Lots of different options to fit. I try to make sure I can fit just about anybody's budget. You can just get a day 25 item if you don't want to get a whole collection. You can buy those separately. So yeah, lots of options there. Thank you so much for your feedback from the last video that I did when I asked for your insights or your input on my shop listings where it comes to pre-orders versus dye to order versus in-stock things, because I didn't want it to be confusing or overwhelming to people, and I was using both of those terms, pre-order and die-to-order, and I felt like maybe it was crossing over into confusing territory. And the overwhelming response that I got was people are more than happy to wait for a die-to-order item if it means they're going to be able to get that item, as opposed to having to stock the shop when something goes up and then, you know, not get it because it sold out quickly or something, which I totally understand. And that's why I started doing pre-orders and die-to-order to begin with. Pre-orders, I'm probably going to continue and use those as a way to introduce new colorways. In fact, I have one that I'm going to be telling you about today that is up in the shop now for a pre-order. And then die-to-orders will be for colorways that have been in the shop and have already been, you know, maybe in stock. They've done their pre-order round. There may have been some in stock, and then I can put die-to-orders up. So they're just always there for you, you know, to order whenever you want to. I will probably rotate those in and out over time, but that seems to be a really viable option for that. I'm also working on, gosh, I've told you this before probably, a new listing for die-to-order semi-solids, both full skeins and mini skeins. That should be finally going up soon. It's been a logistical nightmare to do that. And I just found out today a way that I could make it so much simpler on myself to do the listing. My web guy is amazing. But the thing is, I am one of those people who's like, I have to have my little fingers on it and do it myself. And then I don't realize that there's a completely easier way to do it until I write to him and say, help, this is really complicated. And then he's like, well, you could just do this. I'm like, so yeah, there's that going on. Oh gosh, I'm a crazy person. All right. Anyway, just thank you for your feedback on that stuff. I've started this a couple times, so I'm not sure what I already said, but I am going to be vending at Frederick Fiber Fest next weekend on Saturday, April 27th. If you're in the area, please stop by my booth. I don't know what my booth number is or the building that I'm in. I do know it. I just don't know it and didn't write it down. So I'll put it like down here, and I'll put it in the show notes, which are in the drop-down menu below with the timestamps. I said that right? Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Frederick. It's a nice little show, and I enjoy being there. And there's vendors there that I cannot wait to see. I'm talking to you, Rebecca. Rebecca from Dusty Tree. I love her wool wash, but she doesn't sell it in her online shop. So I'm going to stock up at the show next weekend. That and her face soap. She does soap, and she also dyes yarn. So anyway, sorry. Plug for Rebecca and Dusty Tree. Oh, the other thing I've got for you right now, speaking of plugs for people, is the drawing for the Adorn It stitch markers that I showed you guys last time. And Steph from Adorn It had been kind enough to send this set to me along with an order that I had placed, and she said, you know, use it as a drawing if you want, and I'm totally doing that. And that's this set of these kitty cat, the mischievous kitty cat stitch markers. I showed you these last time, but they're just amazing. So anyway, I did the drawing with the comment picker, the YouTube comment picker, before I started to record. I did not write down how many entries we had. However, the YouTube comment picker chose Elizabeth Bede's comments, and I'm going to say that her name is Elizabeth, which I know because she's also in the Ravlery group. Her comment was on Adorn It. I love the kitties. I have two myself. We lost our middle cat last year. The oldest is 17 this month and diabetic, 3 years on insulin, doing well, purring in my lap as I type. And I also really like the mermaids. My prompt for the drawing was like to go to Adorn It's website and tell me what you like there. So thank you for entering, Elizabeth, and I can totally relate to the aging, poor sick cat, elderly cat thing. We've been there ourselves, as you might know. But anyway, congratulations, you won the kitty cat markers. So please email me, lisa@fibernymphdyeworks.com, and let me know you won, and I will get those sent out to you. So, yay. I do have another drawing that I'm going to start today that I'm going to tell you about a little bit later on in the podcast. This one is for a yarn set and new pattern that is out. It's not one of my patterns, but I'm very excited about this little collab that I was able to be a part of. So I will tell you about that after I talk about the crafting and before we go into the project Mal, or the project pool Mal. Project Mal. Oh, I don't know. Another sip of my tea here. Okay, so as I said, so much time has passed. I'm not really going to go into projects that I have not worked on much. Can you hear the noise? Oh my gosh. You know what? I purposely waited to start recording until he was done eating lunch because our dining room's right out there. And he would be out there and you would be able to see the TV on, which he always watches CNN at lunchtime. And I thought, I'm not going to have that on in the background. I'll wait till he is done. And then he goes outside and he's running the tractor and making all kinds of noise right outside the porch room, which is like he's behind you. I'll talk about this later. I mentioned it before that he was doing this major landscaping. It's more than landscaping, a major project moving dirt and rock and stone and mud, and it's been a thing. But that's what he's working on. Okay. Let's talk about what I did work on. How about that? Instead of what my husband's been working on. Oh, I have a big basket sitting right next to me that I tossed all of my stuff in, but I have to bend over to get it. First thing, I finished my Bullseye bump. I finished this ages ago at this point, but isn't it pretty? I did end up chain plying it, and I don't think I've soaked this yet. Did I write down my yardage? I got about 375 yards unsoaked. So once I soak it, it's probably going to be closer to about 325 yards. But it's at 150 gram skein. It's a big baby. And it's so pretty. And I think it's probably going to be about a worsted weight, maybe a DK. But yeah, it's so pretty. Look at that. All those pinks. And the colorway was called Pink Panther from the Loop Bullseye bump. And it's just got the tiniest bit of Angelina in it. Like just the tiniest little bit of sparkle here and there. Like you can see it right there. So that's really fun. Yeah, so that's my last spinning project that I've worked on. I purposely did not start spinning anything else because I knew how much work I was going to be doing for the show and for show related projects that I needed to work on. So that's why nothing else on the wheel right now. Matter of fact, I couldn't even, when I was finishing this, I almost had a real problem because the drive band on my sidekick, which is what I was using, my shacked sidekick, it was sort of stretched. I don't remember if I have ever changed the drive band on that wheel. I don't remember doing it. I may have done it once. I've had that wheel for a very long time though. From at least, I'm going to say I've had it at least since 2011, if not longer. So that would be an old drive band. It's the stretchy rubbery one, like a giant O-ring. But anyway, it's been stretched, and I try to be careful and not keep it under tension when I'm not using it, but I don't always remember. So that makes sense. But there's a little gadget at the bottom. There's like a little wheel that puts extra tension on it just for that, like whenever your band starts to wear out. And so I stretched it onto there thinking that would help give it more tension. And it gave it too much tension. I'm like, oh, I can't do that. And I took it off. But after I took it off, like that had just done it in. It stretched it too much. Now, in hindsight, I could have put a larger whirl on because I was using the smaller whirl. But I didn't think about that. So I just waited a while and hoped that it would maybe shrink back up a little bit. And I was able to finish plying this. But then I thought, oh, I need to get a new drive band. I had a very, very hard time finding a replacement drive band for it because everybody is sold out. I finally found one place, the the spinnery or the spinning something. I'll put the name down here. They had them in stock. They shipped them out super quick. I bought 2 just so that I have an extra in case I need it in the future. Now I have to like look up my instructions and see how in the world I dismantle this wheel to put this new drive band on. But that's probably not going to happen until after my show. I really do want to start another spinning project though. I miss spinning. Okay, so that is finished. Oh, I did start, oh wait. Oh, you know what? I have this on here twice. I'll talk about that at the end of the projects because the rest of the stuff is stuff I've started and finished. So I realized, as I often do before a show, like close to a show, I should probably have some new samples from what I had in last year. And so I started knitting new samples for my show, which, you know, that's fun. Hang on, I'm digging for the first one that I did. All right, here it is. So the first new sample I did out of my Confetti Tweed Merino DK in the Warm Honey colorway. And this is the Cozy Ribbed Neck Warmer by Hand Knit Yarn Studio. I think somebody, it was either in our make-along group or in the make-along group for, no, I think it was ours, because I can picture the post. I just can't remember who posted it. Anyway, it's a super fun pattern. It calls for, I think, at least an Aran or a chunky yarn. I held DK double for this. Yeah. But it's so nice because you put it on and it's got this slit, so, you know, it fits you, yet it can be under your coat and, you know, up. And I did make mine about an inch longer than the pattern called for, like both on the split side and this side, so I guess 2 inches longer. But if you had one skein of DK, you could split it in half, hold it double, and you would have enough yarn to do the size that it's called for, like the inches that's called for, if you're getting gauged. So anyway, I just think it's super cute. It was a very, very quick knit and very satisfying because it's just 2x2 rib. But you start out, I think you start out knitting flat and then you join in the round. So yeah, so that's going to be one of my new samples at the show, which I'm excited about. Is there anything else I need to tell you about that? What size needles did I use? Did I write that down? Oh, I used 10.5s, US 10.5s. The pattern called for using 11s, I think. Maybe it called for 13s. I don't remember, but I wasn't using chunky. I don't know. I don't have 11s, so I had to use a 10.5. That's what I used. So, and it worked out great, and I like the drape, and it's very stretchy. So, fun. And I love the confetti, the merino, confetti merino, confetti tweed merino. I'm going to have a bunch of this at the show. That was why I wanted to do DK weight samples, which is convenient because they knit up pretty quickly. But I'm going to have a whole bunch of semi-solid colors in my Bonafide DK, my Mountain Tweed Merino DK, and then the Confetti Tweed Merino DK. Yeah, so if you're there and you want some DK weight semi-solids, I got you covered. All right, so that was the first thing for the show that I knit and finished. Next up, and this one was a little bit longer term, this is a shawl. Now this is finished. It just needs to be blocked, and then I need to deal with what you might say is, oh my gosh, Lisa, you're gonna die trying to weave in all those ends. But no, it's actually meant to be fringe. So it'll just be more orderly. But here's the shawl. It's huge. This is the Bubble Dash shawl by Stolen Stitches, is her Carol Feller of Stolen Stitches Designs. Yeah, so this is not what I consider a typical Carol Feller pattern. Maybe I'm wrong, because I just think of her with cable-y sweaters and things. But I saw this shawl on her Ravlery thing at some point because it was in my queue. And I thought, oh, that's so pretty, and it's DK, and so I thought this would be excellent for a sample. Look how giant it is. So it's a really neat construction. Now I did this out of Mountain Tweed Merino DK, so it is a tweed. And you start off doing this bottoms part. So you start at that tip down there and you work up, increasing, and it makes this basically a big diamond, I guess. And then as you're working across, well, it looks like a diamond because of the way I'm holding. Well, I guess it's still a diamond. It's not really a diamond. It's a shape, kind of like a diamond. And then when you're done at the top, you put half the stitches on hold and you work these two wings. Okay, so this was the first wing I worked, and I was able to keep doing all that fringe. And then when you do the second wing, unfortunately you're working from the inside, so like I had to weave in those ends, and I was carrying the yarn up the inside edge as much as I could, so I had fewer ends to weave in, but there were still quite a number of them. So I'll have to fake the fringe on the outside here. So it's called Bubble Dash because the bottom part, you have these 3 segments or sections here, here, and here that are a bubble stitch. This, I sort of went off pattern. I know you're shocked, but it was accidentally here. This was only supposed to have 2 of these and I did 3. I don't know why I thought I was supposed to do 3, but I just left it. I also changed up the order of the colors a couple of times because I wanted to, you know, knitter's prerogative. So the colors that I used, just to let you know, is the gray was my main color. So this is ash. And then I used habanero, which is the red. The green is new grass. And the purple is vivid violet. So those are the colors that I used. And then I also changed up the wings. They were actually supposed to be, knit the same. At least I think they were. The pattern was a little confusing, and there were some errors in the pattern, I will say. Not drastic errors, but ones that could throw you if you weren't catching on to what you were supposed to be doing. So anyway, mine is a little bit different. So like on, let's see, on this segment here, the green is the background and the purple is the mosaic stitch, and then it's the opposite. Oh, no, is it? Oh, wait, did I do this? Oh, I'm just holding it differently. Yeah, it's the opposite over here. So it's kind of the inverse of that. So that's not a big deal. But I did adjust like how I was doing the striping as well. So those are not exactly the same, I don't think. And you know, when you're wearing it, nobody's gonna know. It will be on my mannequin, and if anybody wants to examine it that closely and say, that's not how the pattern has that written, that is their prerogative. But anyway, I need to block this, which I should probably do today. I should have done it this week when we had a nice warm day. I could have put it out on the deck, but I didn't. Anyway, so I need to block it, and then I need to manage all the fringe and add more fringe. But I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it's very squishy, so that's fun. But that will be in my booth as a sample. Okay, what else? Okay. So this is a 2-parter. And the first part of this sample, I did not knit. A friend knit it for me, which I greatly appreciated because this particular friend is an absolute wizard at doing DK weight color work. That's like her specialty, I would say. And she did this hat, and I didn't write the name of it down. I must have asked her like 2 or 3 times recently, like, what was that pattern called again? I'll put it down here. I'm so sorry. But isn't it beautiful? It is a lovely, lovely hat. She did a fabulous job. her colorwork skills are amazing. Isn't it cute? Oh, it smells really good too. Anyway, all right, so this is the hat, but then she also sent back the extra yarn. And this was done out of Bonafide, my Bonafide DK weight base in Merlot and light silver green. So she said, yeah, I don't know. I didn't know if you would want, a pom-pom or not. And you know what? As much as I love pom-poms, I love the top of this hat. And I don't want to hide it with a pom-pom. Like, can you see that? It's so pretty. So I don't think I'm going to put a pom-pom on it. But I had the extra yarn and I thought, well, you know what? I could make something else with the yarn that could coordinate with that. And so I made these and I'm going to put them on to show you. So hang on a sec. These were so much fun and super fast. And I can see a weird little error I made. But we're not going to talk about that. Look at them. Are they cute? It's the same yarn, Bonafide, in the same two colors. And these are the Side Hustle Cuffs by Shayna Cohen of Shayna Lines Designs. Now, I have to be honest and say, I never really thought about just wearing cuffs. I knit some decorative lacy cuffs once, many, many, many years ago, and I gave them to Emma. I don't know if she ever wore them. She probably did because she was in that phase in high school where that was fun. But yeah, I don't know that I would think to wear them, but they're actually kind of nice because your hands are free and it just gives you a little bit of extra warmth. So I don't know, but like they go with the hat really well because again, same yarn. Yeah, so cute. So anyway, I will say, okay, I've been learning things with these projects too, which was not what I set out to do, but on this one, this bubble stitch, I've tried to do bubble stitches before and I've never quite gotten it. Like the one project, I did a hat one time that was a bubble stitch hat and I looked at it when it was done, I was like, I don't know what the big deal is because this doesn't really look like anything to me. And then I realized as I was doing this, because the directions in the pattern, in the shawl pattern for how to do the bubble stitch were not very descriptive and I wasn't getting it. And I will say Carol Feller has a class that walks you through how to do this shawl, which I also find interesting that like the errors in the written pattern were not corrected through that, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, I just got online. I went on YouTube and I looked up bubble stitch and I watched a couple tutorials and I'm like, got it. That makes total sense. And so I was able to do it and it actually does look like the bubble stitch now. So I learned that. And then on these, which this is obviously done with short rows, it calls for German short rows. I've never done German short rows. I tried one time a very long time ago. I was not having good luck with it. I kept messing up. I kept missing my double stitch that needed to be knitted together. And so I never do German short rows. And I know they're a thing. I know people love them, but so this pattern called for them. And I'm like, I'm not doing them. I'm going to just do my regular wrap and turn. And I thought, you know what? No, you're not, Lisa. How hard can this be? This is a little tiny project. Let's go figure this out. And I didn't even look up a video. I just did it because I knew what to do. I just had never successfully done it. And so this was the first one I did. And I started it and I did have to rip that part back, like the short row part back once because I had messed up. But then I got it and it worked fine. And I'm like, wow, I know how to do German short rows now. So yay me. I don't know what this little green stitch, where this came from. I'm hoping it's just something that like from where I wove in the end. I think that might be what it is. Yep, that's what it is. Oh, whew. I thought that would have been horrible if that was like a stitch that I really got that wrong. Yeah, so anyway, these cuffs are done and I'll have these in the booth along with the pretty, pretty hat that my dear friend knit for me. And so yay, samples. Okay. Let's see what else. that's everything that I started and finished. And so I have one more project that I did start. It has absolutely nothing to do with the show because I'm not taking this colorway with me. But I've had it hanging out waiting for me to make it a pair of socks for me. And I ended up needing a travel project. Oh gosh, what's going on here? Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm on the gusset decreases, and the way the needle was sitting there, I thought maybe something catastrophic had happened, but it hadn't. Okay. Yeah, so Bill and I ended up taking a one-day trip, like a down and back trip to Washington, D.C. with some friends of his on the train, like Amtrak. And that was the big draw for this trip, apparently. Like, I was not a part of planning this at all. Matter of fact, I was at my mom's in Florida whenever he approached me about it. He called me and I'm like, hey, would you like to go to DC on the train overnight? And I'm like, sure, okay. So we did, but it's a 6-hour train ride. Like, you can drive to DC faster from our house than it took us on the train. But I had never traveled anywhere by Amtrak. Now, I've done train travel in other countries, but I had not traveled by train here in the US other than like metros and things like that. So I'm like, sure. But I was going to have a lot of knitting time. And so I took this and I'm doing the heel toe do-si-do sock pattern by Kay Litton on my Gathering Seashells colorway. The first pair that I knit out of this yarn I gave to Bill, and I was sort of disappointed because I really loved it. But I gave him the socks. And so I'd had, the last time I dyed these for the shop, I kept the skein for myself because I'm like, I want a pair of these. So I decided to take these with me, and I decided to take this yarn with me. I didn't want to just do a plain vanilla sock though, because like I usually do a 2x1 rib. That's my default sock. But I wanted to do something that was a little bit more exciting since I was going to have such a huge chunk of knitting time, but I didn't want something that I was going to have to be staring at a pattern all the time. And I knew, because I'd made this before, that after I get through the first repeat or two, I will have it memorized because it's super easy and I can just knit on it. And that was the case. And I got through most of the cuff on the trip down. Obviously, I did not knit the entire 6 hours. I did not do very much on the ride back because I was exhausted and I had worn the worst possible shoes to walk around a city on concrete and be standing all this time in museums and stuff. Worst possible shoes. My feet hurt so badly. Just so, like the second day of walking around, I was in agony the entire time. So by the time we did get on the train, I'm like, I just want to sit. And I was one of those weird people. I took my shoes off. I'm not to walk around, but like at my seat, I just took my shoes off and just like hoped that they would stop aching so bad. I don't know what it was because they're comfortable shoes. I just found out they're not comfortable shoes for walking around. So my bad. Now I know. So that's why I didn't get very much more done. But again, since I've been home, I haven't really been working on it because all this other stuff has been taking precedence. I did take this with me on our, we drove about 3 hours northwest of us last week to see the eclipse. Yeah, we're in southwestern Pennsylvania, so we drove further north. We were out on a lake in the canoe. We spent the entire day because Bill was like, we're leaving bright and early, and we literally left at 5 a.m. to drive to this place. Actually, it was 5:30. He said 6. I'm like, oh, really? I thought you would want to leave earlier. And he's like, okay, we'll leave at 5. I'm like, So we left at 5:30. Got up there. It was raining when we got there. Thankfully, it stopped raining, but we were out in the boat on this Pymatuming Lake. If you're from the area, it's a reservoir. Huge. We did the whole circumference of one half of the lake. We didn't even get to do the other half. But it was amazing. We got to see, we were in the path of totality. So that was awesome. And the wildlife there, the birds were incredible. I have never seen so many bald eagles in one place. Matter of fact, I've never seen more than one bald eagle in one place at a time ever in person. We saw dozens dozens of bald eagles, like adults and juveniles or immature ones. Amazing, just amazing. And there were loons, so many loons on the lake. Like usually when you see loons, and they're not usually around here either, like they were clearly migrating north. But when you see loons, like you usually see a pair, like a pair of loons. That's what I've typically seen. We saw so many loons. It was amazing. And then there was tons of different ducks and cormorants and I forget what lots of birds. Just lots and lots of birds. It was amazing. But I had taken this with me because Bill's like, well, we're going to be out on the lake all day. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's a huge canoe that he's got an outboard motor on. And so I'm like, I'm just going to be sitting in this lake. I was not anticipating the wildlife end of this at all. And so I thought, I'm just going to take knitting to work on. I never touched it. Because I was just so enthralled with everything going on. It was an amazing day. Emma went with us too, so we all just had a really good time. Froze because it was super cold earlier in the day, and even out on the lake later in the day when it got warm, we were still kind of chilly. So anyway, but it was a really fun day. Did you get to see the eclipse where you were? I know a lot of people were traveling to see it. I mean, we traveled, but not long, you know, just a few hours. So anyway. All right, so that is all of the knitting and all of the crafts. Okay, so now I want to share with you something that is also something that I did not knit. I also did not design it, but it was designed using my yarn. And it's so cool. So, I don't know if you've ever seen any of her patterns, but there is a designer named Karen Hickland. Of Karen Knitland Designs is her design name, and she mostly designs socks. She's got a couple of hat patterns out too, but mostly socks. And she got in touch with me probably a couple months ago now, saying that she had designed this new pair of socks using my yarn, specifically my Inversibles, and would I be interested in like doing some sort of collaboration with her, do some kits or something like that. And I'm like, yes, that would be amazing. And it's taken all this time to actually get to that point. And the fact that I'm, you know, getting ready for a show did not help move this along on my part any faster. She probably could have been ready ages ago. She was waiting on me. Thank you for being patient, Karen. Anyway, she has now published this pattern as of today, and this is for the Gridlock socks. I do not have them on sock blockers because she blocked them so beautifully and they're nice and flat, but you can see. Okay, so here, I have to sit this stuff down. So these are knit with Inversibles. So for the time being, like, you know, ignore the vertical lines. Just ignore those for just a second. And you can see they're just Inversibles, right? This is the Winter Red and Wisp colorway that she used for this sample pair. But now pay attention to the vertical lines because that's the really, really cool part of this pattern. This is vertical striping. I have never done vertical striping before, but I will be because I'm going to be knitting a pair of these. And this pair, she did the vertical striping with mini skeins. So I sent her the Inversible set, plus I sent her a mini skein of the red, a mini skein of the Wisp, and then also the mini skein of the black so that she could use the contrast for the heels, toes, and cuffs. So you use that opposite color. So for this one, you know, the small stripe is in the Wisp, and so she used the Wisp mini to do these strandings, this vertical stranding. I'm not going to talk about the vertical stranding because number one, I've never done it and I can't speak to it. Number two, that's what her pattern is for. You get all of the good stuff in the pattern. Okay, and so then the opposite, like this one, she used the red mini to do the stripes here. There is an option in the pattern that you can do it without those two minis. You can just cut segments out of the opposite skein, the opposite Inversible skein, to get your yarn for the vertical striping, the vertical color work, stranding. That's the color, that's the word I wanted. Yeah, so that's all written out in the pattern. So you don't have to have the minis, but if you do have the minis, you can use those instead of taking yarn out of your other half skein, if that makes sense. And then, you know, you have your yarn for your heels, toes, and cuffs as a third mini. If you want to do that, you can do that however you want to though. So anyway, this is the pattern. It is just the most mind-blowing. Like when she first showed this to me, I'm like, I've never seen anything like that. And it's just so creative and so clever. So anyway, what we have done is I have put together, there's a dye to order listing in the shop right now for yarn kits. Okay, I have a set number of inversible sets that you can choose from. And along with the inversible set, you will get 2 minis, one in each of the inversible colors that goes with that set. And then you get to choose a third mini that you can use for your contrast. Okay, so the kit comes with the inversible set, you know, those 2 half skeins, as well as 3 minis. That's what you get with the yarn kit in my shop. The pattern is not a part of the kit that's in my shop. That you need to go to Karen's Ravlery page to purchase the pattern. She's got that over there, which I will link. I'll link everything about all of this in the show notes, but I just want to make it clear that the pattern does not come with the yarn set. Right now, I'm offering those dye-to-order yarn sets at an introductory discount of 10% off. So that's up there now. I don't know how long I will leave it up there like that, but for the foreseeable future, they will be up there as a discounted. They are dye-to-order. They'll ship in 3 to 4 weeks. And then again, you can get the pattern over at Karen's Ravlery site, her shop. If you already own inversibles, you can just go get her pattern. And if you have like a mini or something else that you can use for your contrast, you're set, because like I said, you don't have to have those extra 2 minis. I think it just will make it a little bit easier. The pattern's written both ways. Anyway, so this is one of the color combinations that's available. And again, you can choose whatever third color you want. Here's what the pattern looks like. She used this set for the pattern picture, and then here, let me show you the other one. That's another sample. This is the original one she sent me to show me pictures of. This one is in soft black and wisp, and she used fuchsia for the heels, toes, and cuffs there. So that's also an available option for you. And her pattern has a lot of details on how to do the techniques. Obviously, that's what a pattern is meant for. So I'm very excited to be a part of this with her. I'm so thankful that she asked me to be. And as such, I decided I would like to do a drawing to help promote her pattern along with these sets. And so I have another set of the Winter Red and Wisp inversibles along with your 3 minis. So here's the Winter Red mini, Wisp mini that you'll use for your vertical stranding, and then the soft black for the heels, toes, and cuffs. So if you would like to be entered in this drawing where you will receive the pattern. Karen will be gifting you the pattern. I will be gifting you the yarn set. Let's see, what shall we use for the prompt? I should have thought about this ahead of time. Let's see. Okay, she's got a whole bunch of other sock patterns out too, and a couple hat patterns. I think I mentioned that. If Ravlery is available to you, head over to Ravlery and look up Karen Hickland or Karen Nitland Designs. That's her designing name. And check out her other patterns and tell me what other pattern you really like. List that in the show notes for your comment. Or if Ravlery is not accessible to you, or if you just would prefer a different prompt, tell me what is your favorite kind of tea if you're a tea drinker. If you're not a tea drinker, just let me know you're not a tea drinker. But tell me what your favorite kind of tea is. All right, so I will do the drawing for this, for the yarn set and the pattern for the Gridlock socks in the next regular episode, which will hopefully not be a month from now, but no promises, seeing as life is, you know, just a bit absurd right at the moment. So anyway, yay. I'm so glad I got to share that with you. We just finalized this earlier today. Like, she got the pattern published, which, like I said, she was probably ready way before now. She published the pattern. I got the yarn listing up. So excited. So anyway, those are in the shop now. Okay, what else? Let's talk about the Project Pool Make-Along. It's my year-long make-along. There is a video on the channel, which maybe I'll try to remember to link it up here again if you want to take part. It's basically just you're making a list of things that you would like to draw from, but the whole idea is to keep it kind of manageable. Like, you can only put so much in your pool at one time, and have it be things that you really would like to work on and focus on. Doesn't have to be the be-all and end-all of what you're only going to work on this year, but, you know, just put some things in there that you know you've been meaning to get to and you'd really, really like to do. And then you can switch them out as you know, do things. You cross some things off, add some other things in, or as time goes on, if things that are on there don't make you happy anymore, just scratch them off and, you know, add other things. It's totally up to you. And it does not have to just be fiber arts. It can be any other kind of creativity stuff. It could be cooking, it could be baking, it could be, you know, it could be activities that you want to do. Like, maybe you want to ride your bicycle a certain amount of miles every week or something, or in May. I don't know what you want to do. But you can put that in your project pool. Because let's face it, all of life is just one big project. It really is. So, talking about that, as far as my productivity on mine, the Bubble Dash shawl actually was one of my items that I had on my list. So that I can cross off. Gathering seashells, the yarn was actually on the list too, but I was originally going to do the, it was another K Litten pattern, and I actually think it's maybe the same stitch pattern, but it was for mitts. But I decided to do the socks instead. So I'll do the mitts with another kind of another colorway at some point. But one of my other things, as I've mentioned before, on my project pool list is to try a new recipe. Excuse me. My goal was to try one new recipe every week. I don't know that I've caught up to that, or stayed caught up with that. I had gone gangbusters at the beginning of the year and was doing so many new recipes, but I have done a couple of new recipes in the last couple of weeks. One was a pizza roll recipe using crescent roll, like Pillsbury crescent roll dough. And the whole thing that spurred that on was Emma had brought home a couple of pizza rolls that her cousin had made for her. They were doing a movie night, and she knows Emma's vegetarian. Pescatarian, but anyway, she bought this vegetarian pepperoni, which I have never found vegetarian pepperoni that I liked. Like, none of it has been good, but this was Field Roast brand. It was amazing. And then she just sent the leftover pepperoni home with Emma, and so it was here, and I'm like, I'm gonna try making pepperoni rolls. So I had crescent roll dough in the refrigerator, and I looked to see if there was a recipe to do pizza rolls with it, and indeed there was. I can't super recommend it unless you really like the taste of crescent roll dough, because it's kind of sweet. Other than that, it was fine. They did make pizza rolls. I think if I tried it again, I would use Pillsbury pizza dough and just do it that way. But we'll see. I have to find, I've never seen Field Roast's pepperoni in the store anywhere. I can find other things from that company, but maybe I'm just not shopping at the right store. So I'll have to keep looking for it. But if I find it, I will definitely buy it again because it was yummy. But the other recipe that I did try and was very, very good, in fact, my whole family liked it, including Bill, and he's picky about baked goods, cranberry pumpkin muffins, and I will put the link to that recipe down in the show notes. Usually when I make pumpkin muffins, I just use my pumpkin bread recipe and make muffins out of it, but for whatever reason, I decided to Google and see if there was a special cranberry pumpkin muffin recipe out there, and lo and behold, there was, and it was so good because it was lighter than my regular pumpkin bread, because that's pretty dense. It was lighter and it was far less sweet. There was not as much sugar in it, and we all liked it better that way. So highly recommend that recipe. So All right, I think that is everything with all of that. Let's talk about some shop news. As I already said at the beginning of the recipe, at the beginning of the episode, my 2024 holiday countdown collections, The Mystery of Color, are available for pre-order in the shop currently. They will be up through June 15th, so you have plenty of time to check those out and purchase one if you would like to. I did release my anniversary colorway finally. I know, last time I think I gave you a sneak peek of it on. Did I give you a sneak peek of it on here? I think I did. But anyway, it is now up in the shop. So if you get my newsletter, you already know that. But if you don't, allow me to show it to you. It's not on a sock blocker, and here's the sample. And if it looks familiar, there was my inspiration. The colorway is called A Legacy, and the whole idea behind this was I do my anniversary colorways based on things related to my business, but this year I really wanted to pay homage to the other women in my family who came before me who were very, very creative and very crafty. And as I say in the listing, I'm sure back in their day, they didn't say, oh, I'm going to go have some crafting time. No, they were going to knit a blanket so they had something to keep warm with, or they were going to make a quilt because they needed a quilt on their bed, or they wanted to give someone a gift of a quilt, which we do now too. But, or they sewed clothes. My mother sewed almost all of my clothes when I was little, and her clothes, up until probably when I hit junior high. My grandmother who made this, my Nana, she crocheted. She also knit, I think, and she also did needlepoint or embroidery. And her mother, my great-grandmother, she did these very delicate lace edgings on like napkins and handkerchiefs. I have the handkerchief that my grandmother carried for her wedding, and I'm fairly certain the edging on that was probably done by her mom. Yeah, so it's just so cool. Like, I've got all of this heritage of making in my family, and I know not everybody has that. But I was just inspired because it makes me wonder, like, is there a crafting gene, or is there something about that like you're more inclined to have the desire to do these kind of things if someone before you had that as well? I don't know. I'm sure it's probably more of a nurture thing than a nature thing, but you never know. Maybe they just haven't found that gene yet. Anyway, so my colorway is called A Legacy, and it is 7 stripes. This is technically 8, but honestly, these 2 green stripes right here, this really, like, not the bright green, but like these 2 that look actually more mustardy on here than they do in person. Like, looking at them on the camera, they look kind of different. They definitely look more green in person. I just merged them because, again, in person they also look very similar. So, whatever. It's not an exact replica. It is just an inspiration. So this is the colorway. I have it in self-striping. I have it in mini skein sets. I have it in fiber options, both braids and spinning sets. And then I also put together these 2 progress keepers that kind of go along with that theme. This one, I don't know if you can see it, is Carried in My Heart, which is a little heart inside another heart. And then this one is Family Tree. Family Tree with a little heart there. So these you can just add on to your order if you want to. They're not full sets. There's no ring markers that come with these. These are just, they are open. They do open, so they can be used as progress keepers, or you can just use them as, you know, a stitch marker. So those are all in the same listing. So all of this is up in the shop right now. If you are interested, oh, here's the skeins. So here's on Bounce, and here's what it looks like on Mountain Tweed. So I'm so happy with this. Along with that, as a pre-order, there are a whole bunch of dye-to-order items in the shop right now. A lot of dye-to-order. I'm not sure that there's any more pre-order items. There may be. You can check. The last couple of Middle-earth imagined colorways are probably still up there as pre-orders. I don't remember. I haven't looked at them in a while. But anyway, check it out. And if any of it's of interest to you, I'd be happy to get it dyed up for you. All right, so let's just do life real quick here because we're coming up on an hour. I already told you we went on the overnight train trip to DC. The train was interesting. I don't think I feel the need to do any super long train trips, if for the only reason, I mean, it was very comfortable. You have tons of leg room. We were in like a double-decker Amtrak train. Now, Emma has taken a train before, but depending on where you're going from here, if you have to go east first, it is not the double-decker train. It's one level and you're very cramped. So I was really glad we weren't on that. But these had like reclining seats and lots of leg room, so I was not uncomfortable. You can get like bedrooms or sleepers, little things, because Bill was looking at it. He's like, I could go see my sister on a train. I'm like, she lives in Arizona. Okay, that's like across the country. It turned out it would be like a 3-day trip. Like, you gotta be kidding. You could ride your motorcycle out there in 3 days. Anyway, yeah, it was fun. It was an experience. If I had to live on the train food for very long, it would get old fast. Not a lot of vegetarian friendly items on the train. And then I told you we went to, but being in DC was a lot of fun. We were there like kind of right at the end of cherry blossom season. There was still a lot of blossoms, but I know it was towards the end, but it was fun. And we did have good weather, which was also very nice. I'm trying to think what else was notable. We just walked around. The couple that we went with were friends of Bill's. He's known them since high school. I don't know them particularly well. But they were the ones who invited us on this trip, and so we hadn't really planned anything that we wanted to do. We just figured we'd go and do, whatever they want to do. Turns out they didn't really have a plan either. So we were just sort of wandering around a lot. And I mean, you get to see things, and we did go in certain museums. We walked around. I did not get to see the Lincoln Memorial. That is my favorite one to go see, but we did not get to that one. But yeah, it was fun. We had a nice time. As I said, we went to Pymatuning Reservoir to be out on the water to watch the eclipse. I will try to pop a picture or two in here. I actually got a fairly decent picture of the eclipse on my phone from a boat, of all things. You usually need to be sitting still. All right, that's everything. I feel like I probably forgot something I could have told you, but there's always another video coming. I will try to catch up. I hope you are having a lovely beginning of your springtime weather. Unless you are south of the equator, then I hope you're enjoying your fall weather, as it's starting to get cooler where you're at, probably. Again, I will be at Frederick Fiber Fest next weekend, April 27th. I would love to see you. Please stop by the booth. So I will talk to you again really soon. Thank you so much for watching. Please, again, if you are interested in the drawing for the kit and the pattern to do the Gridlock Socks by Karen Hickland, I would love for you to enter in the comments below. I'll do that drawing the next time I do a podcast. Otherwise, the kits are available in my shop, and the pattern is available on Karen's Ravlery shop. And all that'll be linked below. And if you have any questions about anything I talked about, feel free to leave comments about that too, and I'll be happy to try to answer them. So anyway, have a great rest of your day. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you hopefully soon. Bye.